Ah yes, the longest series on the channel overall, even before I started. You know what I'm going to say at this point, the Five Nights at Freddy series has a deep lore that only one person truly understands, and the one person, being the creator Scott Cawthon, doesn't really make it that easy to understand. He leaves little clues and stuff hidden in the various games and books for us to find and put together, even if doing so causes us great mental pain. However, we're here to uncover them as per usual. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Connor Monroe and this is the Top 10 FNAF Tiny Details You Don't Really Think About Part 8. That's right, Part 8. Let's do it. And be sure you're sticking around until the end because this last theory is going to blow your mind. Oh my god, the Afton family just got a little bit bigger. Alright, let's do this. And intent corruption. It took me a while to realize, but the FNAF series is all about corruption, at least in a metaphorical sense. Sure, the story is about kids getting murdered and possessing animal-themed robots, but a huge theme of the series is corruption. William was corrupted into killing, those kids were corrupted by William, the animatronics that got possessed were corrupted, the restaurant was corrupted, and corruption is an even more prevalent theme now, and like it's literally occurring. Like with William literally corrupting a hard drive that gets scanned into FNAF VR, which he then corrupts, you know, because he corrupts the game. William corrupts Jeremy and gets him to off himself. He corrupts Tape Girl and Vanny. He corrupts animatronics in Security Breach and Special Delivery. Each of his children get corrupted and killed. Like, it's a main theme of the series, and William can't die until the corruption stops. I just thought that was kind of cool. It's present literally everywhere. And at 9, spring locks. A lot of people didn't understand what I was talking about when I was saying that Crying Child's death makes no sense, so I'm going in depth here so I can explain how the spring lock mechanics work in universe and how this applies to Crying Child's death scene. The term spring lock in and of itself is kind of confusing, since it can be used to refer to multiple things. A spring lock can talk about an animatronic that can switch between suit and robot modes, like Golden Bonnie that William uses to kill the original 5, and the Golden Freddy we see in FNAF 4's cutscenes. We know it can be a suit because we see William putting someone into it in one of the mini-games in the back room. And spring lock is also a term for the mechanism used to hold back robotic parts in those specific suits so a person can fit inside. We know these can fail when exposed to water, since this is how William got stuck in the Springtrap suit in FNAF 3's minigames. So most people assume that Crying Child's tears loosen the locks of the mouth and that's why he gets chomped. But that was already in animatronic mode, so the spring locks weren't active. And they couldn't fail because they aren't in use. And there wouldn't need to be any in the mouth to begin with, only the pistons used to move the jaw up and down since no human body part is in the mouth. And if we're wrong and this is just an animatronic without suit capabilities, there would be no spring locks in the suit at all. Now a human skull would require 1900 newtons of force to be crushed, something way beyond what should be used for an animatronic. And even to fracture it, it would require around 1100 newtons, something that would require a piston that uses its own air compressor, and you would need multiple of them. Since that's something we don't see on stage with Freddy, and it would be something that would be impossible to fit inside of him, because like air compressors are huge even with our current technology, that's why Crying Child's death scene is impossible. There is no physical way the animatronic could have crushed his skull, unless there's something going on that we don't know about, which is entirely possible, but highly unlikely. And at 8, paper shadows. Shout out to YouTube user XXShadowFredbearXX-0- for pointing this one out to me, because it actually is really interesting and it's a detail I never noticed. If you have a small detail that I have yet to cover, please let me know in the comments. The comments are really helping me get through these videos, especially this one, so go shoot your shot, and if you do, you might just get a shout out if I use your point. Anyway, Shadow Fredbear pointed out that the Paper Pals, characters I talked about in the previous part, who could seemingly move around at will, are the characters that have shadow counterparts. I described the Paper Pals as Bonnie, Freddy, and a humanoid that could possibly be Balloon Boy. However, the human-like character who has a shadow counterpart is Dee Dee, someone based off the looks of Balloon Boy. The other animatronics, Bonnie and Freddy, each have shadow versions as well that were introduced in FNAF 2. What could this mean exactly? Unknown. I need to kind of work on it. This is something very interesting and I'd like to get to the bottom of it. And it's 7, time travel. So, time travel is possible in the FNAF canon, and at least in the Fazbear Frights book series, since the first book, Into the Pit, has a story talking about someone getting into a ball pit and time traveling, hot tub time machine style. But like, does that mean anyone can have this happen to them? Like, is it possible that anyone from the games could have this happen to them? Perhaps Gregory is crying child who fell into a pit and got sucked into the events of security breach, and then we'll go back in time at the end of the game, or well, I guess go back to his time at the end of the game, showing why he fears the animatronics and being in a pizzeria. Maybe William can time travel through the games and this is him in the far future. There are so many possibilities. Like, maybe this is why the timeline doesn't make any sense, because someone keeps changing it. I solved FNAF. It has its own Barry Allen. And at 6, upgrades. How on earth is this franchise able to upgrade its location constantly? You'd think that after multiple deaths of the joint's prime clientele, that the place would be ruined, right? But then these folks come in hitting us with that Freddy Fazbear Mega Pizzaplex. How do they have the money to open a whole, basically, mall after so many kids have gone missing in their establishments? Why do parents let their kids go here? It can't be that they think that it's fake, right? I mean, like, who would believe... Oh wait, I know who would believe that it's fake. The same people that believe that 5 kids actually went missing in a Chuck E. Cheese instead of realizing that it's just a Twitter picture and like a meme. Like, it's funny because it's backwards in this like analogy. I'm sure they wouldn't believe if it actually happened and only believe that it happened here because of the games. Like, but I mean, who knows? Clearly not them. It just doesn't make sense to me. How is this good publicity? Like, even if you go by any publicity as good publicity, this isn't it. It makes no sense, especially in this scenario. Halfway through into number 5, Purple Guy. The FNAF community was up in arms over the true Purple Guy debate after the release of Sister Location and the discovery of the ending. In this ending, we have an end cutscene of Michael walking around after being scooped by Ennard, but then also turning more and more purple as he walked down the street after multiple days, making us question if he was really the infamous Purple Guy. He isn't, since the Purple Guy isn't physically purple, but this begs the question, why was Michael purple? Most assume that he was in fact a decaying corpse that smells bad, hence the reason for being fired in the original games, but that never made sense to me, since in every form of media, decaying or decayed bodies that aren't supposed to look realistic are shown as green and not purple, because like that would make more sense, at least in my brain it does. However, do you know what is purple? Bruises. We know he isn't dead, so why would his body be rotting? Because it's not. It's being battered from the inside, causing extreme bruising, hence why everyone is scared. They don't understand why this dude is like literally purple, and it's because of all the bruises. And at 4, why Henry? In the original FNAF novel series, to my knowledge, the characters of William and Henry are introduced as business partners. William is the businessman who handles the financial and actual business side of the company, while Henry is the creative one who really works on the animatronics. This could be wrong, but this is how I've been explained and understand their roles. And the characters in the games at least have a similar role layout, with Henry making loads of new animatronics for FNAF 6. But we also know that William was the one who modified the animatronics, or corrupted them, see, full circle, and was the one who built the Sister Location animatronics and had a robot business called Afton Robotics. So my thought is, if William was already capable of creating these things and this entire company from scratch, since we know that Circus Baby's Pizza World opened after Freddy's, why did William involve Henry at all? Like, wouldn't it just be a liability? Having someone work so closely with the things you intend on using to kill with? Like, it seems stupid to me. Some say that a criminal career starts with too much caution or too much arrogance, but to me, this doesn't seem like either. Maybe too much arrogance, but he had already started killing at this point, so like, what the hell, dude? Was it to keep him close because you wanted to kill his daughter, or was his daughter actually yours? And at 3, genes. Last people, a lot of people seem to be confused by the genetics of the Afton family, and I've talked about it before, but I'll go over it again for everyone that's new here. Also, hi, thanks for subscribing. We're almost at 500K, that's insane. With genetics, what you see is not all that you get. For example, my sister and I both have dark hair. However, when mine is shorter, and even more so when I was a kid, my hair was much redder than hers. Much redder than it is now, even. This is because red hair is a recessive gene. There are dominant and recessive genes, and it's easiest to describe this using a Punnett square. Let's look at this one for example. Let's say that we're crossbreeding bananas, one green and one more commonly yellow. The green color is dominant and the yellow is recessive, which means that if the banana lies in one of the top 2 spots and it has the green trait, it will be dominant and you'll see green, even if it has the yellow gene, because yellow is recessive and green is dominant. However, as you can see, it is possible to have a green banana have a yellow banana offspring. even if the banana is green, because it also has the yellow gene. So even with the dominant gene, the green banana could have a yellow offspring. Even with another green banana, in fact. However, if this was the case, that new banana would have a 25% chance of being yellow if it has 2 green parents, each with the yellow gene. Like I said, it's a 1 in 4 chance, but it's still possible. This is the case with Elizabeth, where a parent doesn't necessarily have to have the trait visually, but rather in their DNA. I'm not the best at explaining this, but you get the idea. However, Elizabeth isn't ginger, she's blonde, which I don't understand where you got that from. But blonde is also a recessive trait, so the same thing applies. And we haven't seen the mother, or even really William Afton, so she could be blonde. Maybe she also has blue eyes, which is dominant over green, but it's still possible if she has the green-eyed trait, and William does too. And Elizabeth isn't ginger, okay? She's blonde. I honestly don't know where you got that from. What? Come on. Watch the cutscene. Penultimately, in at number 2, force a crowd. I proposed the idea last time that perhaps William and his wife, or baby mama, but most likely wife at this point, had 4 kids instead of the 3 we see on screen. This was mostly based off the Immortal and the Restless TV series from Sister Location, where a woman was telling a character meant to represent William that he had a son that clearly was his, but William was denying it, or I guess Vlad was denying it, proposing that maybe he thought she had cheated or didn't want the kid. And after discussing genetics and trying to explain to the people who didn't really understand, it just shows how likely the scenario is. If the babies came out blonde, William might have just thought that they weren't his. But I think later that William realized that the baby was his and wanted her back, or perhaps I'm wrong about the whole he denied it originally thing, and instead he wanted her all along. But it wasn't 100% with me yet, it was still just a theory. Until this comment from YouTube user Saber Sapphire on the last Tiny Details video. I think we can all agree that Ballora is an allegory for Mrs. Afton. She isn't possessed, because she would have had to be alive to run away with a child, but that after she left, William made this robot as a way to cope. We can also agree that she is a mother figure to the Minirinas, and that's what got us all thinking that she was meant to be the mother in the first place, aside from her song. Well, Saber pointed out the number of Minirinas that Ballora has: 4. Ballora has 4 children, and if she is meant to represent the mother of the Afton kids, this will only solidify this theory more for me. Finally, in at number 1, motivation. While this number isn't based on this comment, a comment from user B Cooper helped spark this idea in my brain, along with the last comment. They said, I think the 4th child is Vanessa, and she was Elizabeth's twin. If there is actually a 4th Afton kid, and if Vanessa is that kid, it would make sense for her to have been Elizabeth's twin. She's the proper age, and they both are blonde with green eyes. We don't have many other features for Elizabeth because, you know, she was an 8-bit, but with the information we have, it matches, and it matches well. It could also be potential motivation for William. Maybe that's why Susie was first, because she looked like maybe the mother perhaps, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Maybe William has green eyes, or like I explained in number 3, they both have the gene, even if it's not visible. This could also be the inspiration behind Baby's mechanics and why the fun times are meant to capture children. So he could use them to find his other daughter. Hence why he told Elizabeth specifically to stay away from Baby, because he had programmed Baby to look for and capture a child that looked exactly like her because they were twins. He never told Crying Child or Michael to stay away from them, right? At least from what we saw, because they weren't in danger. This could be it. I am 100% certain at this point that the Aftons have 4 kids and that the mother ran away with the 4th. This has to be what's going on, right? It has to be what's going to be revealed in Security Breach. Scott, please confirm or deny so I can say I told you so and finally be put on the FNAF map after all this hard work I've been putting in. Thank you, Sky Daddy Scott. There we have it, friends, the top 10 FNAF Tiny Details you don't really think about part 8. If you have any more suggestions, let me know in the comments because I still need your help with these videos. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been in Shall Remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.